But my next question is around the fundraising data. So it looks like we've got some great fundraising data here, but how does that show in the financial system?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Kurt. So within Business Central, we've got the ability to manage the all important downstream finances. So that's everything from your direct debit mandates, the transactions from say platforms such as Just Giving, as the ledger entries, and all of that kind of good finance stuff. So hopefully you can show us a little bit of that, Matthew.
Cool. So direct debits, notifications, billing requests, mandates, subscriptions. We're also able to take credit card payments with Stripe, so payments, refunds, notifications, all in there as well. Because obviously in the fundraising system, we're going to lodge a direct debit, but actually in the financial system, we're going to need to make it happen, yes? But also, if we go into our chart of accounts, we want to be able to see those donations that we've received. And typically in a financial system, you'd expect to see a number of ledger entries. But actually, because it's Microsoft Business Central, any list of data like this can actually be a pivot table. And if you're not great at creating pivot tables, we can actually ask Copilot to do that. So let's have our rows as funds and columns as periods. We want to be able to see what type of income we've had. We're asking Copilot, create us a new a pivot table in here. But if you're great at pivot tables, you'll be able to use the system as it is. So what it's done is it's listed our restricted and unrestricted fund income here, and it's put our periods across the top. So let's keep that. And we've got a completely new pivot table, and we can share that pivot table with any other users in the system. So when we see lists of data and ledger entries in our system, that's one thing, but actually what separates the Microsoft product from everything else out there is this ability to create pivot tables, but also our ability to use Copilot within the confines of the software to deliver automation and to deliver results for us. Yes? Back to you, Kurt.
Yeah, brilliant. That looks great. No doubt everyone loves a pivot table, and great to see how AI is starting to help with that report generation. So once the donations or direct debits are collected then in Business Central, how is that data then reflected back in the fundraising system as that single view?
Yeah, so both systems are connected via something called the Dataverse. So when we're talking about having connected data systems, and I mentioned earlier that the fundraising system is designed for the fundraisers, and the financial system is designed for the people in the accounts teams, but it has to be that connected data and this connected platform. And Simon will explain to you how the balances from Business Central are then reflected in the system, in the fundraising system.
Perfect. So as I kind of marginally alluded to earlier, every donation we have is associated with a transaction. So if I find a particular donor commitment, for example, so I'll go to an individual this time just to sort of show you how this would work. So we then have all of the transactions linked to that particular commitment. So where that's coming from Business Central is we might have initially that this person is going to make this transaction, or it may be that it's coming from one of those giving platforms such as Just Giving, and that would effectively be reconciled within Business Central. That's where you're capturing the actual cash flow of where that has come in. But then in here, we want to effectively track what's happened. So you'll see at the top, we've got what's called a status reason. So that is basically just marking this transaction as paid. So then on my list of transactions, I can see all of the different statuses. So I can see whether they are in processing. So in this case, here's one I've set up for Brightnell, which is a direct debit. So on our system, we can see details of that direct debit, the amount, and all of the things like tax and stuff. But that information is populated from within Business Central itself. So any details around that whether that's been paid, whether it's still, for example, up here, it's been marked processing, that can be updated automatically by Business Central. But it means that your users don't have to move across from fundraising into finance. Typically, we see that those teams operate quite separately to one another, but it means you as a user within the fundraising system can see all of those transactions, all of the donations that were supposed to come in, be forecasted to come in, all within one connected platform. So that's really important for you as an organization, so that you can actually check, that people are paying, that those donations are flowing through nicely, but being able to see the link between that and the actual finance data coming from Business Central.